Before diving into the video, did you know that over 80% of you watching right now aren't subscribed? Your one like and one subscribe means the absolute world to this channel and helps us keep going. Hit those buttons real quick and let's get into the video. When I saw my wife cupping a man's head and slowly leaning toward him, her lips puckering when they were only 2 inches apart, I lost it. Without a second thought, I rushed over and beat the hell out of both of them. Afterward, with swollen faces and black eyes, they insisted I'd misunderstood. They claimed something had gotten into his eye, and she was just trying to blow it out for him. What did they take me for, a 3-year-old? There was no way I was buying that. But later, I got hit by my own boomerang. One day, my wife's best friend choked on some food. I had her lean forward against the couch while I stood behind her, wrapped my arms around her waist, and repeatedly thrust upward to perform the Heimlich maneuver. At that exact moment, my wife walked through the front door and saw us. She immediately burst into tears and tried to attack her friend. I had to hold her back. She's choking. I'm performing the Heimlich maneuver. My wife's eyes were bloodshot as she screamed in a complete breakdown. This is the first fucking time in my life I've ever seen someone perform the Heimlich maneuver naked. Chapter 1. The Sand in the Eye. At 6:50 p.m., I parked my car in the underground garage like I always did. On the passenger seat sat a cake box decorated with golden chestnuts. It was from Clara's favorite old bakery, and I'd driven an extra 2 miles just to get it. After 3 years of marriage, I considered myself a decent husband. I built my company from nothing. We went from living in a tiny apartment to owning a luxury high-rise unit. I always believed that once I married her, I should spend the rest of my life treating her well. The elevator dinged as it reached the 23rd floor. I unlocked the front door and stepped inside, only to freeze in the entryway. A pair of dark brown men's dress shoes sat neatly beside the shoe rack. Size 42. They weren't mine. Besides Clara and me, the only other person with access to the apartment was Martha, our housekeeper, who left every day at 5 o'clock. Clara didn't have many friends, and people rarely visited our home, especially at this hour. Without changing my shoes, I quietly carried the cake box inside. The living room glowed under warm yellow lights. A mindless romance drama played on the television with the volume turned low. A thin man in a white dress shirt sat on the couch facing me, and Clara stood directly in front of him, both hands holding his head. Slowly, she leaned closer, closer, closer. When their noses were less than 2 inches apart, she stopped. Then, she slowly puckered her lips. Time seemed to freeze. The cake box flew out of my hand. It smacked directly into their faces. "Stop right there." The words exploded out of me. Clara and the man spun around at the same time, panic written across both their faces. His glasses had slid down to the tip of his nose, revealing a pair of startled eyes. Clara's lips were still puckered. The sight was unbearable. I charged forward and shoved Clara aside. She stumbled backward, crashed into the coffee table, and nearly knocked it over. What a disgusting pair. I pointed at them, shaking with rage. "Making out in my living room while I'm not home? Clara, you've got some nerve. Honey, you've got it all wrong. Let me explain. It's not what you think." Clara frantically waved her hands, her face drained of color. I saw it with my own eyes. What the hell is there to explain? I grabbed the man by the collar and yanked him off the couch. He was half a head shorter than me and skinny as a rail. He couldn't resist at all. "Who the hell are you?" My fist slammed into his face. "Damn it," he cried out in pain. His glasses shattered, and blood instantly spread across his otherwise decent-looking face. "Stop, please stop." Clara threw herself at me and grabbed my arm. "Victor, calm down. That's Julian. He was my neighbor when we were kids. This is his first day visiting us." "Julian?" I let out a cold laugh and punched him in the other cheek. "So, being a neighbor gives you permission to kiss my wife in my house. What next? A couple more days and you'll be sleeping in my bed?" "No, that's not it. It really isn't." Clara was crying now. Something got in his eye. I was just helping blow it out. Blow it out. I laughed as if I'd just heard the biggest joke of my life. I threw Julian back onto the couch, climbed on top of him, yanked off my size 45 leather shoe, and swung it straight at his face. "So you were blowing something out of his eye, huh?" Smack. The sole of the shoe landed squarely across his face. Chapter 2. The Camera Doesn't Lie. "I'll give you something to blow on." Whack. Another hit. "I'll let you blow all you want." Every strike carried my full strength. Julian's face swelled before my eyes. Blood streamed from his nose, running down the corners of his mouth and mixing with the cake frosting, leaving him in a pathetic mess. "Victor, stop." You're going to kill him. Clara wrapped both arms around mine and tried to pull me away. I shook her off, and she crashed to the floor again. Honey, please. Clara dropped to her knees, crawled over, and grabbed my pant leg. I swear it's all a misunderstanding. He really got sand in his eye. I was only helping him blow it out. Nothing happened between us. A misunderstanding? I looked down at her, my heart ice cold. A married woman and another man alone in my house. Faces inches apart, lips puckered. And you're calling that a misunderstanding? Clara, do you seriously think I'm a 3-year-old? I raised my foot, preparing to kick Julian again. Sir, please stop. Martha rushed out of the kitchen, still holding a spatula. The moment she saw the scene in the living room, her face turned pale. Martha, thank goodness you're here. Clara looked as though she'd found a lifeline. Tell Victor what happened. Didn't Julian get something in his eye? Wasn't I helping him blow it out? Martha glanced at Julian's battered face, then at me. Slowly, she nodded. Yes, sir. Mr. Julian was smoking on the balcony, and something blew into his eye. Mrs. Clara really was helping him blow it out. I froze for a second. Then my anger surged even higher. So now you're helping her lie to me too? I glared at Martha. Who pays your salary? And you're conspiring with outsiders to fool me? I'm not lying, sir. Martha looked ready to cry. There's security footage. The living room camera recorded everything. Right, the living room had a security camera. I'd installed it years ago to deter burglars. I never imagined it would be used for this. I released Julian and walked over to the TV console. A few taps later, the surveillance footage began playing. The recording rewound 10 minutes. On screen, Julian walked in from the balcony while rubbing his eye and said something to Clara. Clara nodded, then came the exact scene I had witnessed. She really was blowing something out of his eye. The evidence was undeniable, but instead of calming me down, it somehow made me even angrier. See, Clara let out a sigh of relief and approached me. I told you it was a misunderstanding. Why wouldn't you trust me? She reached for my hand. I immediately jerked it away. A misunderstanding? I stared at her. Clara, do you have any concept of boundaries between men and women? Boundaries? She looked genuinely confused. He's practically family. We grew up together. What's wrong with helping him with his eye? Practically family? I scoffed. He's the kid from next door. Since when does that make him family? Even actual siblings should know how to respect boundaries. What did I do wrong? Clara's voice rose. I didn't do anything. I helped him with his eye. That's it. Does that really justify you losing your mind and beating him half to death? I turned toward Julian. He sat on the couch clutching his face, wincing in pain. His entire head was swollen, his eyes reduced to narrow slits. Honestly, I probably had gone a little too far, but I didn't regret it. He had it coming. My expression remained cold. He knows you're married. That alone means he should have kept his distance. If something got into his eye, why couldn't he rinse it out in the bathroom? Why couldn't he use a cotton swab? Why did he need a married woman leaning in and blowing on it? He said he already tried those things. Clara lowered her voice. It didn't work. Julian finally looked up at me. There was resentment in his eyes, but there was even more fear. He opened his mouth as if he wanted to say something, but in the end he stayed silent. Enough. Clara sighed and walked over to him. Carefully, she helped him to his feet. Are you okay? I'll take you to the hospital. Julian shook his head, his voice coming out hoarse. I'm fine, my head's just ringing a little. Your face is swollen like a balloon, and you're saying you're fine? Clara frowned. No, we're going to the hospital. What if he has a concussion? With that, she supported him and helped him out the door. Chapter 3. An unexpected birthday emergency. I don't know how much time had passed when I heard the front door unlock. Clara was back. Seeing that I was still awake, she walked over, composed herself, and spoke softly. Honey, you were way too impulsive today. You didn't even figure out what was happening before throwing punches. Julian ended up with a mild concussion. Fortunately for my sake, he decided not to press charges. Do you know why I married you? I asked, instead of responding to what she'd said. Probably because I'm pretty. She giggled and wrapped her arms around my neck. You already hit him. You already yelled at me. Can you stop being so serious now? Your looks are only part of it. I looked at her. What mattered more to me was that your personal life was always clean. No ex-boyfriends, no messy relationships, and you always knew how to maintain proper boundaries with other men. So, where exactly did this childhood neighbor suddenly come from? I don't care how close you two were as kids. You're married now. I want you to maintain the kind of boundaries adults are supposed to have. Okay, I was wrong. She nodded repeatedly. It's just that I hadn't seen an old friend in years. Today was his first day after moving here. I promise I won't do that again. Then she smiled sweetly. Honey, your birthday is the day after tomorrow. I paid a fortune to a ticket reseller and got us 2 front-row tickets to your favorite singer's concert. I'm practically begging for forgiveness here. Can you please stop being mad? I glanced at her, but kept a stern face. Please. Her voice turned syrupy sweet. She pressed her body against mine and rubbed against me playfully. I came up with a new position. How about we? A new position? Now that caught my attention. I scooped her up into my arms and headed toward the bedroom. I'm not letting you off so easily tonight. Soon my birthday arrived. I've been looking forward to it for over a week. Clara had bought 2 concert tickets, front row seats in the center section. The price wasn't even the impressive part. The real miracle was actually getting them. Clara was a huge fan of the singer too. She'd always wanted to attend one of his concerts. But every time, either the tickets sold out instantly or she was too busy to go. She wanted to surprise me, so she'd even requested time off from work so we could spend the entire day together. At exactly 8 o'clock that morning, I woke up. The spot beside me was already empty. After getting dressed, I walked into the living room and found Clara on the phone. She sounded anxious. Okay, CEO Wong, I understand. I'll head over right away. She hung up, and the moment she saw me, guilt appeared on her face. Honey, I'm sorry. She walked over and took my hand. Something urgent came up at work. CEO Wong needs me to come in. I probably won't be able to spend your birthday with you today. I froze. Weren't all your plans already arranged? How can work suddenly come up? She sighed. This project has always been my responsibility. Now there's a problem, and nobody else understands the details. It has to be me. Then she added, Don't worry, I'll be back as soon as possible. It's just a shame we won't be able to go to the concert. I'll see if I can get the tickets refunded. Tonight, I'll have Martha prepare a huge dinner, and when I come back, I'll bring you a birthday gift too. Okay, but what kind of emergency is so urgent that it can't wait until tomorrow? I couldn't help complaining. We've been looking forward to this concert for a long time. I had tried many times to persuade her not to keep working as an executive at that company, telling her she could come help me instead. Every time, she'd say the same thing. Once my company became bigger, she'd come, but for now, staying there allowed her to help me from time to time. No, it can't wait. She shook her head. The client needs an answer today. Work comes first. Besides, concerts happen every year. She picked up her purse and kissed me on the cheek. Be good, honey. Wait for me at home. Love you. Then she hurried out the door. Chapter 4. A Substitute Guest. That evening, after Martha finished preparing dinner, I told her to clean up and head home. The dining table was covered with dishes, every single one of them my favorite. 6:30 came, the time Clara had promised she'd be back, and she didn't return. 7 o'clock, still nothing. At 7:30, I called her. No answer. I called again, still no answer. I tossed my phone onto the couch, leaned back, and closed my eyes. Then suddenly, the doorbell rang. I immediately opened my eyes. Was Clara finally home? But she had both a key and fingerprint access, so why would she ring the bell? Was she carrying a gift and couldn't open the door? I got to my feet and quickly walked to the entrance. When I opened the door, the person standing outside wasn't Clara. It was Chloe, Clara's best friend and the maid of honor at our wedding. She was wearing a white dress and subtle yet elegant makeup. In her hands was a pink cake box. She looked stunning. Even someone like me, who was no stranger to beautiful women, couldn't help being momentarily stunned. Victor, happy birthday. She smiled brightly, revealing 2 adorable dimples. I blinked. Chloe, what are you doing here? Clara sent me. She walked inside and placed the cake box on the dining table. She said the situation at work might take longer than expected. She was worried she'd ruin your birthday, so she asked me to bring your gift over first. She pulled an exquisitely wrapped gift box from her purse and handed it to me. This is the gift Clara picked out for you. She said you'd definitely love it. I opened the box. Inside was a beautiful watch, the exact model I'd been eyeing for months. Clara really cares about you, Chloe smiled. She spent a small fortune on that watch. Well, my mission is complete. She picked up her purse and prepared to leave. Wait, I stopped her. What is it? She turned around looking puzzled. If Clara can't make it back, why don't you stay and have dinner with me? I shrugged. I doubt you've eaten yet, right? If she dropped off the gift and left immediately, it would feel like we'd treated her like a delivery service. Besides, spending my birthday alone felt depressing. Having someone to talk to wouldn't be a bad thing. Chloe agreed without hesitation. Sure, I won't say no to free food. She laughed. And you're right, I haven't eaten yet. She took off her coat, draped it over a chair, and sat down. Oh, by the way, you know that my favorite singer has a concert at the stadium tonight? Of course. Chloe's eyes lit up immediately. I absolutely love him. Too bad getting tickets is nearly impossible. Clara had managed to get 2 tickets. Unfortunately, she ended up refunding them. I picked up the remote and turned on the television. A paid live broadcast of the concert appeared on the screen. If we can't be there in person, the live stream will have to do. Wow, Chloe's face brightened with excitement. This camera angle is practically front row. She stared at the screen. His songs never get old. Watching her enthusiasm, I found my own mood improving. Soon, the concert began. Familiar melodies filled the room. Chloe sang along to every song, waving her arms and dancing in her seat like an excited kid. I couldn't help smiling as I watched her. Chloe had a cheerful, outgoing personality. She was completely different from Clara. Clara was gentle, quiet, and often emotional. Chloe, on the other hand, was straightforward, energetic, and never hid what she was thinking. Truthfully, I'd always liked Chloe's personality. She said exactly what was on her mind. No games, no pretending, the kind of person who made the perfect friend. Chapter 5. Caught on camera. The concert was about halfway through when it reached the classic couples interaction segment. The giant screen began randomly scanning the audience. Whenever a couple was selected, they had to kiss in front of everyone. Soon, the first couple appeared on the screen. They were 2 college students. The singer smiled and asked, "Did you come here together?" "Yes." "So you're dating?" The 2 nodded shyly. "Then let's see a kiss." The couple quickly pecked each other on the lips before pulling apart in embarrassment. The crowd erupted in cheers, and the girl buried her face in her boyfriend's chest. The second pair was a middle-aged married couple. They kissed openly, earning another round of applause. Then came the third pair. To everyone's surprise, it was 2 men. One was a heavily muscled gym guy. The other had short hair, a round face, and a thick beard. The host laughed. "So did you 2 come together?" They nodded. "And are you a couple?" They nodded again. The entire venue exploded with even louder cheers. Kiss, kiss, kiss. The 2 men exchanged a grin, then immediately pulled their shirts over their heads so nobody could see them. Holy crap, I laughed. Whoever is running the camera definitely knows what they're doing. Haha. Chloe nearly doubled over laughing. How is this even allowed on live TV? At that moment, the giant screen started moving again in search of the next lucky audience members. Then it stopped. The smiles instantly froze on both my face and Chloe's, because the 2 people displayed on the giant screen were none other than Clara and Julian. They were sitting in the front section close to the stage. Clara wore a beautiful floral dress, and a bright smile lit up her face. Julian sat beside her, turned slightly toward her, looking at her with an expression so tender it practically dripped affection. My head buzzed. For a moment, everything went blank. So this was the urgent business she talked about. This was where she had gone. She had lied to me. Not only had she lied to me, but she had also gone to the concert I'd been looking forward to for weeks with another man. The host's voice echoed from the television. "Wow, what a gorgeous couple. Hello there. Did you 2 come together?" Clara and Julian nodded at the same time. "And are you a couple?" Clara immediately waved her hands and smiled awkwardly. But before she could answer, Julian took the microphone. "Not yet." The answer instantly caught everyone's attention. The host grinned. "Oh, the way you said that makes it sound like there's still hope." Julian nodded, his eyes remaining fixed on Clara. "I missed a lot of opportunities in the past. Now I'd like to make up for those regrets." Clara looked completely stunned. She covered her mouth, her eyes widening in shock. The disbelief on her face was impossible to miss. She remained frozen for nearly 10 seconds before finally reacting. Quickly, she grabbed Julian's arm. "Julian, what are you doing? Don't joke around like that. There are thousands of people watching. Come on." Julian refused to back down. "Just play along with me this once." "No." Clara shook her head, a faint blush coloring her cheeks. "I can't. Really, I can't." Julian continued trying to persuade her while Clara kept rejecting him politely. Eventually, the host laughed awkwardly and steered the conversation elsewhere before moving on to another audience pair. The concert continued. The songs were still beautiful, but I couldn't hear any of them anymore. "Why is Clara there?" Chloe's voice was filled with disbelief. "She told me she had an emergency at work." She turned toward me, concern written all over her face. "Victor, are you okay?" I tried to smile, but I couldn't. I'm fine. My voice was calm. At least Clara didn't say yes. Chloe hurried to smooth things over. This Julian guy is unbelievable. He knows she's married and he still makes a confession like that in public. He's just making things awkward for her. I'm sure he was joking, don't take it to heart. A joke. I let out a cold laugh, my voice turning icy. If that's his idea of a joke, then maybe I should have a little fun with him too. Chloe stayed and talked with me for a while longer. She was surprisingly good at comforting people. Once she saw that my mood had stabilized somewhat, she glanced at her watch. It's getting late. I should head home. I walked her downstairs. The night outside was already dark. Be careful on the way back. Chapter 6, The Ultimatum. She nodded. Go back upstairs. And if Clara isn't around in the future, you can always call me if you need anything. After seeing her off, I went back inside, locked the door from the inside, turned off my phone, and went to bed. I slept straight through until morning. After breakfast, I opened the door and found Clara sitting outside. She was hugging her knees, resting her head on them asleep. The nights were still chilly. Her shoulders were hunched from the cold, and she was shivering slightly. She looked pitiful, but honestly, I thought she deserved it. The sound of the door woke her up. She sneezed several times and then tried to stand, but her legs had gone numb. She stretched out a hand toward me. Honey, how did you sleep so deeply last night? I nearly screamed my throat raw, and you never heard me. Eventually, I got too tired to keep knocking and fell asleep out here. She waited for me to help her up. When I didn't move, confusion filled her face. What's wrong, honey? What's wrong? I looked at her coldly. Didn't someone confess his feelings to you yesterday? I figured you weren't coming home. I assumed you went off to spend the night with him. The color immediately drained from her already pale face. Honey, she panicked. Please listen to me. You've really got the wrong idea. There really was a work emergency. It just so happened that Julian knew someone who could help coordinate things, so I asked him for assistance. That made everything go much smoother. And since I had 2 concert tickets, I invited him as a thank you. Another misunderstanding? For the first time since our marriage, I called her by her full name. Clara, do you think I'm an idiot? Do you seriously expect me to believe a lie this childish? Clara visibly panicked. She immediately took out her phone and called her assistant, asking for the meeting records from the previous day. Not long afterward, a video arrived. The footage showed that they really had spent part of the day in meetings solving work-related issues, but it didn't reduce my anger in the slightest. Then what about the public confession at the concert? Clara hurriedly defended herself. I turned him down. You call that turning him down? I laughed bitterly. That weak, half-hearted rejection? To a man, that just means try harder next time. Clara looked wronged. But I did reject him. What else was I supposed to do? You should have slapped him. I stared directly into her eyes. You should have told the entire arena that you're married. You should have made it crystal clear. Instead, you gave him room to keep dreaming. But, Clara hesitated. There were so many people there. I didn't want to embarrass him in front of everyone. What about me? My voice suddenly rose. What about my dignity? There were tens of thousands of people in that arena. What if someone we know saw it? What if friends or relatives recognized you? One person tells 10 people tell 100, and then everyone knows some guy publicly confessed to my wife. Do I just have no dignity left? By the end, I was practically shouting. Clara was genuinely frightened, tears streaming down her face. What do you want me to do? She sobbed. I answered without hesitation. I want a divorce. The way you've been acting gives me zero sense of security. Who knows when I'll end up being the last person to find out I'm being cheated on. Clara immediately broke down. No, I won't divorce you. It's all been a misunderstanding. Of course she refused. I had expected that. It didn't matter. I had plenty of ways to make her agree. I went straight to my company. Sitting behind my desk, I lit a cigarette and picked up my phone, calling my assistant. Felix, look into someone for me. His name is Julian. I want everything, the more detailed the better. Work performance, personal relationships, any scandals, anything that can be used against him. I want the report on my desk within an hour. Understood, boss. The call ended. I stared at the phone with an icy expression. So you wanted to make up for your regrets? Fine. I'll make sure the rest of your life is nothing but regrets. Chapter 7. The Online Backlash. A little after 3 o'clock in the afternoon, Felix sent Julian's file to my email. I opened the message and read through it carefully. Julian came from a poor rural family. Life hadn't been easy for him growing up, but he had always worked hard. He earned his way into a prestigious university and after graduation joined his current company. To be fair, he was good at his job. He had climbed the ladder step by step until he became a department manager. This overseas assignment as the person in charge was also a sign that the company viewed him as a key talent worth developing. As I looked through the information, a cold smile curled across my lips. Some people just insist on walking straight into disaster. I organized the documents. Part of them I anonymously sent to their headquarters, and the rest I forwarded to several well-known entertainment gossip bloggers. Then I spent a little money hiring online promoters to make sure the story gained traction on the internet. After heading downstairs, I called Chloe. I was in a good mood today. It was worth celebrating with a drink. "Hello, Victor." Chloe's voice sounded especially gentle. "Are you free today? Want to have a drink with me?" "I am. Send me the location, and I'll be there right away." Half an hour later, I met a carefully dressed-up Chloe at a bar. "What? You're getting divorced?" she asked, staring at me in shock. "It's true." I smiled, poured her a glass of wine, and told her everything that had happened. "You're really ruthless, you know that?" Chloe rolled her eyes at me playfully. "Have you thought about what this will do to them? Julian deserves it, sure. But what about Clara? Don't you think this might be too much for her? Have you considered how much damage this could do to her work and personal life? Did they consider me when they were doing what they did?" Chloe wanted to say something else, but I raised my glass and cut her off. "Let's not ruin the mood. Come on, let's drink." "All right, I'll drink with you." By the time we finished, it was already late in the afternoon. Chloe helped me out of the bar. "I'm not taking you home," she said. "If Clara sees us together, she'll get the wrong idea. I'll get you a hotel room instead so you can rest, okay?" I nodded. Chloe booked a room at a nearby hotel. After helping me onto the bed, she poured me a glass of water and placed it on the nightstand. "Get some sleep. You'll feel better when you wake up," she said. "Call me if you need anything." And my head was spinning. The moment I lay down, I fell asleep. When I woke up, it was already nighttime and my head still ached. I picked up my phone and realized it had died. After plugging it in and turning it back on, countless unread messages and missed calls flooded in. Most of them were from Clara. There were also several messages from Chloe asking whether I was awake and whether I had eaten. I replied, telling her I was awake and fine. She responded instantly, "Check TikTok." So I opened TikTok. On the local trending list, the topic company executive Julian confesses his love to a married woman at a concert had already climbed to the #1 spot. I tapped on it. The comment section was full of people tearing Julian apart. "Home wreckers can get lost. Wait, he's not even in the entertainment industry? Fine then. Get out of the workplace. He knew she was married and still confessed publicly? Does he have no shame? And that woman isn't innocent either. If she really wanted to reject him, she should have slapped him on the spot instead of acting all shy and hesitant." Some people had already dug up Julian's identity along with various scandals from his time at the company. Harassing female subordinates, taking kickbacks. The corners of my mouth twitched upward. Looks like hiring those online promoters had been money well spent. How is someone like this still allowed to be in charge? Is the company blind? They should fire him immediately before he contaminates the workplace. Public outrage was exploding. Just then, I received a message from Felix. "Boss, Julian's headquarters has already released a statement. They formed an investigation team to look into the allegations. During the investigation, Julian has been suspended from all duties." This was only the beginning. Sooner or later, I would make sure he couldn't survive in this city. That so-called phoenix who flew out of the mountains? I'd make him fly straight back where he came from. I would make sure he lost everything, his reputation, his career, every last thing he had. Chapter 8. Driven to the Edge. The next morning, shortly after I arrived at the office, Felix walked in. "Latest update. Julian has already been fired," he said. The investigation team from headquarters confirmed the bribery allegations and his inappropriate relationship with a married woman. The evidence was solid. They terminated him immediately and even circulated a notice throughout the industry. I doubt he'll have an easy time finding another job. "Got it." I nodded, my expression unchanged. It was exactly the outcome I had expected. "There's more," Felix continued. "The online backlash is still growing. People are tearing him apart everywhere. His personal information has been exposed, and now he's too afraid to even leave his house." "Good. Don't stop the online campaign. I'm very satisfied with the results. Keep watching the situation and report any new developments immediately." Online harassment was one of the most effective ways to break a person's spirit. Some victims ended up suffering from depression. Others with weaker mental resilience could be pushed to the brink. Things were only starting to work. There was no reason to stop now. Understood. Felix left the office. I sat behind my desk staring at the computer screen without the slightest emotional reaction. He had brought this upon himself. If he had stayed in his lane and kept his hands off Clara, someone as young as him already running a branch office would have had a limitless future ahead. Around noon, my phone rang. It was Clara again. After a moment's hesitation, I answered. Victor. Her voice was hoarse, thick with tears. Was it you who sent those materials to the internet and to his company? Who else would it have been? I admitted openly. Why would you do this? She shouted emotionally. Victor, why are you trying to destroy him completely? Do you know how hard Julian and I worked to get where we are today? We both came from poor rural backgrounds. We climbed our way up step by step. You know how much effort it took, and because of one misunderstanding, you're going to ruin his entire life. One misunderstanding? I laughed, the sound ice cold. Clara, you call confessing your love to a married woman a misunderstanding? Then maybe I should help him have a few more misunderstandings. But he's already been fired. His reputation is ruined. Please stop, honey. She broke down crying. Do you really have to drive him to death before you'll be satisfied? I'm driving him to death. I scoffed. Honestly, I don't have many options. The moment she heard that, hope crept into her voice. Honey, I knew you weren't that kind of person. You misunderstood. I cut her off coldly. Since the law doesn't allow me to strangle him myself, the only thing I can do is push him as close to the edge as possible. Then I hung up. I knew Clara would run straight to comfort Julian. I didn't care. We were practically divorced already. Whatever she chose to do had nothing to do with me anymore. That afternoon, while I was reviewing documents, my phone rang again. Clara once more. I answered impatiently. What now? Victor, something terrible happened. Her voice trembled with panic and tears. Julian jumped. What? For a moment, I thought I had misheard. I had just renewed the budget for the online campaign. On top of that, I'd hired people to create scenes outside his house every day. If he'd already collapsed now, that money had practically gone to waste. I hadn't even really gotten started yet, and honestly, that robbed the whole thing of a lot of satisfaction. He jumped from the second floor of his house, she cried. He can't move right now. He may have broken some bones. I'm on my way to the hospital. Please come with me. No. My voice remained cold. So he wasn't dead after all. Victor, she practically screamed. He's jumped off a building. How can you be so heartless? If he truly wanted to kill himself, he would have jumped from the roof instead of the second floor. I analyzed calmly. The fact that he survived proves he never intended to die. He just wanted sympathy. And I'm not a doctor. Is he magically going to recover because I show up? He jumped because of you, she shouted. If you hadn't exposed everything, he wouldn't have been fired. He wouldn't have reached this point. Victor, you're a murderer. Think whatever you want. I couldn't be bothered arguing. If you're going, then go. Just stop bothering me. I hung up again, then I blocked her number. Chapter 9. The Heimlich Incident. Over the next few days, Clara didn't contact me again. She was probably busy taking care of Julian at the hospital. I heard both of his legs were broken, and even if he recovered, there would likely be lasting complications. A friendly reminder. Being a homewrecker comes with risks, and jumping off buildings should be approached with caution. I enjoyed the peace and quiet. Every day I went to work, came home, watched movies, and played video games. Sometimes Chloe would stop by. We'd go shopping together or grab hot pot, one of our shared favorites. Today was no different. I naturally dialed Chloe's number. A friend gave me a piece of Wagyu today. Come over tonight, and I'll cook it for you. Sure. Do you need me to bring anything? Just some fruit and snacks. Before long, Martha finished preparing dinner. Besides the steak, she had made 4 Chinese dishes and a soup. Braised pork belly, sweet and sour ribs, cola chicken wings, garlic broccoli, and tomato egg soup. The meal was a perfect blend of East and West. The steak was just an occasional change of pace. Chinese food was still my favorite. Just as everything was ready, the doorbell rang. I opened the door to find Chloe standing there with a large bag of fruit and snacks. Wow, it smells amazing, she exclaimed the moment she stepped inside. Victor, Martha's cooking is incredible. Everything looks so good. Of course. I grinned proudly. I hired her myself. We sat around the dining table eating and chatting. After dinner, I told Martha she could head home. Chloe volunteered to do the dishes, and I didn't argue with her. Instead, I sat down on the living room couch and turned on the TV. An episode of Tom and Jerry was playing. It had been my favorite cartoon as a kid. Even now, I never got tired of watching it. After finishing the dishes, Chloe came over and sat beside me. You like Tom and Jerry too? She asked in surprise. Yeah, I can watch it over and over. Me too, she said excitedly. Tom and Jerry are adorable. We watch together, laughing out loud every now and then. The atmosphere was relaxed and cheerful. I grabbed a bag of snacks from the coffee table and handed it to her. She accepted it, tore open the package, and popped a handful into her mouth. At that exact moment, a particularly funny scene came on. She burst out laughing and suddenly inhaled a piece of the snack into her throat. She grabbed her neck, her face turned bright red, and she couldn't speak. Chloe, what's wrong? Startled, I jumped to my feet. She pointed at her throat, then at the snack bag. I immediately understood. She was choking. Don't panic. I've got you. I quickly moved behind her. Supporting herself against the couch, she leaned forward. I wrapped my arms around her from behind, placed a fist just above her navel, covered it with my other hand, and thrust inward and upward once, twice, 3 times. With a sudden cough, the piece of food shot out. I let out a relieved breath. Chloe bent over, coughing repeatedly until tears formed in her eyes. Are you okay? I patted her back with concern. I'm okay now, thanks to you. She looked up at me, her cheeks flushed pink. Only then did I realize that my hand was still resting on her waist. Her waist was slender and soft. We were standing so close that I could smell the faint scent of her perfume. The atmosphere suddenly became charged. I looked into her eyes. They sparkled as though stars were hidden inside them. She looked back at me. There was shyness in her gaze, nervousness, and something else I couldn't quite identify. My heartbeat suddenly sped up, my breathing growing heavier. As if possessed, I leaned close to her ear and whispered, "Why is your face so red? Maybe there's still another piece stuck in your throat." I paused, then added softly, "Should we keep going?" Her face turned even redder, like a ripe apple. She didn't say a word, nor did she pull away. Instead, she gently closed her eyes. I watched her trembling eyelashes, felt the softness of her body so close to mine, and finally, unable to hold back any longer, I lowered my head and kissed her. Chapter 10. The tables have turned. Her lips were soft and sweet. She froze for a moment, then kissed me back. We wrapped our arms around each other tightly, as if we wanted to pull the other person into our very soul. In the living room, Tom and Jerry was still playing. Tom was still chasing Jerry. Jerry was still outsmarting Tom, but neither of us was paying attention anymore. Meanwhile, at the hospital, Clara was asking the doctor about Julian's condition. The surgery had been successful. He was no longer in danger. All he needed now was someone to stay with him and keep an eye on him. After thanking the doctor, Clara realized she hadn't been home in several days. Julian had just come out of surgery, and she felt she needed to go back and explain things to her husband. She had only stayed to take care of him because he had no one else to rely on. She couldn't let her husband misunderstand the situation again. After arranging for a caregiver and making sure everything was taken care of, she prepared to leave. Julian tried to persuade her to stay a few more days, but she politely declined. On the drive home, she rehearsed what she was going to say. When she arrived at the front door, she took a deep breath to steady her emotions and opened it. Clara stood in the doorway. In her hand was a box of osmanthus cakes, my favorite. A tired smile rested on her face. "Honey, I'm home. Look what I brought you." Before she could finish her sentence, she saw Chloe and me in the living room. The smile froze on her face instantly. The box slipped from her hand. The pastries hit the floor and shattered into pieces. What are you doing?" Her voice trembled. Her eyes widened in disbelief. Chloe was so startled that she immediately hid behind me. I stepped in front of her protectively and looked at Clara. "Why are you back? What are you two doing?" Clara screamed hysterically. Pointing at Chloe, she shouted, "Chloe, you're my best friend. How could you sneak around behind my back and get involved with my husband?" "Clara, listen to me." Chloe spoke softly. "Explain what?" "I saw it with my own eyes." Clara was on the verge of losing control. "You're mistaken," I said calmly. "Chloe choked on some food a moment ago. I was helping her with the Heimlich maneuver." "The Heimlich maneuver?" Clara looked as though she had just heard the most ridiculous joke in the world. She pointed at the two of us and screamed, "This is the first fucking time in my life I've ever seen someone perform the Heimlich maneuver naked." Chapter 11. Point of no return. Since you've already made up your mind, there's no point trying to explain it. I straightened my clothes. "If you can't accept it, then let's get divorced." "Divorce?" Clara froze for a moment. Then she suddenly snapped and lunged toward Chloe. "It's all your fault. You shameless home wrecker. You seduced my husband. I'll kill you." "Stop." I grabbed her arm and shoved her aside. Victor, you're actually protecting her? Clara stared at me as tears streamed down her face. Have you forgotten how you proposed to me? You said you'd love me for the rest of your life. You said you'd always protect me. Were all those promises nothing but lies? Well, someone else confessed to you afterward, didn't they? I shrugged. So I'm stepping aside. That's nonsense, she cried hysterically. Is this all because of Julian? Fine, I'll cut off all contact with him right now. From now on, I'll stay home every day and wait for you to come back. I'll cook for you. I'll do your laundry. I'll do whatever you want, okay? Too late. I gently pushed her away and glanced at Chloe. Clara, do you honestly think there's any going back from this? No, she shouted. I refuse to get divorced. As long as I don't sign the papers, you can forget about it. If I have to drag this out forever, then I will. Suit yourself. My tone remained calm. It doesn't matter whether you agree or not. I'll file for divorce through the courts. At most, it'll take 6 months before the judge grants it. Chloe, Clara turned toward her, her eyes filled with hatred. You bitch. I won't let you get away with this. You're going too far. Chloe stepped out from behind me and looked directly at Clara. I admit it. I came into his life when he was lonely and heartbroken. But you're the one who gave me that opportunity. On his birthday, you were at a concert with another man. That same man confessed his feelings for you in front of everyone. Maybe you didn't know what he wanted before, but once you did, you still went to the hospital to take care of him. You keep insisting nothing happened between you two, but the way you acted gave him hope. Stop pretending you're completely innocent. My marriage is none of your business. Clara screamed, refusing to let her continue. Why isn't it my business? Chloe shot back. Victor loves me now, and the person he'll be with in the future is me. As for you, you had a husband, yet you kept getting emotionally involved with another man. You never respected any boundaries. If Victor is divorcing you, it's because of your own choices. You brought this on yourself. You dare say I deserve this? Clara trembled with rage and charged toward Chloe again. I stepped in front of her once more. Enough! My voice turned cold. Haven't you made enough of a scene already? If you're done, then leave. I'm not leaving, she shouted. This is my home. No. I looked at her steadily. This isn't your home. I bought this house before we got married. It has nothing to do with you. If you don't leave right now, I'll call the police. Clara stared at me, despair filling her eyes. She knew me well. When I said something, I meant it. Slowly, she got to her feet. She looked at me, then at Chloe, and suddenly she laughed. A hollow, heartbreaking laugh. Fine. She nodded. I'll go. Victor, Chloe, you'll regret this. With that, she turned and ran out the door. The front door slammed shut behind her. Silence returned to the living room. Chloe leaned against my chest and whispered softly, Victor, I'm sorry. This is all my fault. It has nothing to do with you. I gently patted her back. This is between Clara and me. None of this is your responsibility. But, no buts. I cut her off. We were always going to end up here, sooner or later. Chapter 12. A Second Chance. As expected, Clara refused to sign the divorce papers. Instead, she began relentlessly harassing us. She sent me countless messages. She waited outside my office building, blocking my path and begging me to go back with her. She even told me she had decorated the new house exactly the way I liked it. I hired the best lawyer I could find and filed for divorce in court. My lawyer told me that since we had already been living separately, there was a very good chance the court would grant the divorce. The hearing was scheduled for about 3 months later. During that time, I heard some news about Julian. Although his leg had healed, it left lasting complications. He walked with a noticeable limp, and because his reputation had been completely ruined, no company was willing to hire him. He could no longer stay in the city and had no choice but to return to his hometown in disgrace. I heard that after he went back, he spent every day drinking at home. His temper became increasingly violent, and he would lash out at his parents over the smallest things. The people in the village looked down on him, calling him an ungrateful parasite who had bitten the hand that fed him. It was the consequence of his own actions. If he had been content with his own life and hadn't tried to destroy someone else's family, he would never have ended up like this. 3 months later, the court hearing finally arrived, and Clara still showed up. She looked much more haggard than before, thin, exhausted, and completely devoid of any spark in her eyes. In the courtroom, she didn't make a scene this time. She simply sat there quietly, tears streaming down her face. The judge attempted mediation, but I remained firm and insisted on getting divorced. In the end, the court granted our divorce. A year later, Chloe and I held our wedding. Clara came as well. She personally handed Chloe a generous cash gift, which caught Chloe completely by surprise. The two of them hadn't been in contact for over a year. "I'm really glad you came," Chloe said. "You're celebrating too soon." Clara's smile never wavered. She looked just like the close friend she used to be. "What do you mean?" Chloe looked puzzled. Hadn't Clara come here to offer her congratulations? "You still don't understand the situation? The tables have turned now. You'd better keep a close eye on your husband." She paused, then smiled. "Let's see how I take him away from you, just like you took my husband from me." Chloe smiled as well. "I won't deny that you're capable. You're beautiful, and you understand him very well. But I won't give you that chance." "Then we'll see about that." "Fine, we'll see about that." Chapter 13. Unshakable Bond. 3 years passed in the blink of an eye, and Clara's parting threat at our wedding proved to be nothing more than a fading echo. She had tried, of course. For the first few months after the wedding, Clara occasionally showed up at places she knew I frequented. She would step into the same coffee shops, send subtle emails about business consultations, or accidentally run into me in the lobby of my office building. But every time, I maintained absolute boundaries. I treated her like a total stranger, keeping every interaction cold, formal, and strictly documented through my assistant. Realizing that I felt zero attachment or nostalgia toward her, Clara eventually stopped trying and dropped out of our lives completely. Meanwhile, my business expanded into new international markets, and Chloe excelled in her own career as an interior designer. We bought a spacious house with a huge backyard overlooking the hills, a place built on mutual trust, honesty, and shared laughter rather than unspoken resentment. On a warm Saturday afternoon, the backyard was filled with the aroma of barbecue and the sound of chatter. My assistant Felix and his fiancée were over, along with Martha, who had retired from full-time house cleaning but still came over every month as family to visit us. Chloe stepped out onto the patio wearing a simple summer dress, her hands gently resting on her visibly rounded bump. We were expecting our first child, a baby girl, in just 2 months. "Victor, stop burning the steaks," Chloe called out with a laugh, walking over to stand beside me at the grill. I wrapped an arm around her waist, pulling her close and leaning down to press a kiss to her temple. "I'm not burning them. I'm searing them to perfection." "That's what you said last time right before the smoke alarm went off," she teased, resting her head against my shoulder. I looked out at our friends laughing on the lawn, then down at my wife, feeling a deep sense of peace that I had never known in my previous life. The chaos, betrayal, and vindictiveness of the past had completely cleared away, replaced by genuine loyalty and warmth. "Thank you, Chloe," I whispered softly into her hair. "For what?" she asked, looking up into my eyes with a bright, dimpled smile. "For knowing what boundaries mean, and for choosing to build a real home with me." Chloe smiled warmly, reaching up to gently cup my face. "We built this together, Victor, and nobody is ever going to take it away." As the sun began to set, casting a golden glow over the yard, I held my wife tightly, knowing without a shadow of a doubt that we had finally reached our true happy ending.